We're off to the same start as the Dolphins might get off to. Thank you. Welcome to Yard Prep here at the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick. And at 5 Reasons Sports, we got Eric Wadicki. You can follow him at Eric Wadicki. We got our guy Michael Quirk. You can follow him at SJB. I always do SBJ for some reason. SJB Michael right below. And also Louis Sung. Louis D. Sung. He's always positioned somewhere in his car. We got 2 in the car today. Look at that. People driving to Buffalo. All right. We are sponsored here, as always, by our friends over at Prize Picks. We don't know if they'll be our friends after today, looking at some of these props, but use that code 5, FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Again, there are no rollovers. You just play right away. They match your money. We go from there. We're going to be running some Prize Picks promos as we go forward. Thanks to our producer, Manny Chang, for posting that up. For us, use the code 5, FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched up to $100. It's really easy to download. Just go to prizepicks.com and they'll show you. But otherwise, you go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Rated the #1 fastest growing sports product in the country last year. And I can tell you from our signups lately, that is accurate. So go to Prize Picks, use that code FIVE, and I am wearing the shirt here today. All right, Dolphins, Bills, round 3, 1-1. You can take it off the screen, Manny. It's okay. You can take it off the screen. You can take it off the screen. There we go. We are all off to a good start today. All right, so round 3 here. Dolphins, Bills, up in Buffalo. The weather is pretty similar here to there, actually. So wear a coat down here if you want. I know you got the heavy jackets. Look, nobody's giving them a chance. And I was just saying today, I was thinking back, covered sports down here since 96. I was trying to think back to a bigger underdog down here that won a significant game in any of the major sports. And I'm like looking at the Florida Panthers in 1996 against the Pittsburgh Penguins and Philadelphia Flyers in the playoffs. I can't come up with one. I can't think of a Dolphin underdog that won a game like this. The Heat have almost never been underdogs in these situations. So it's hard to identify. The Marlins, I guess the 2003 World Series would be the only place to go. Our guy Eric could probably speak on that more. But nobody is giving them a chance today. Like Tyreek Hill didn't even seem to be giving them a chance. He basically said, I had a good team with Kansas City. I know that may have been taken out of context. Lewis, do you give them any chance? Like, let's go with a number here. We got 100%. I don't care about the spread. I mean, I do if you go to betteredge.com and use the code 5RSN, but otherwise I don't. Do you give them any shot? Like 8%, 7%, 10%, no percent. What is it?
I mean, look, I'll give, just out of courtesy, I'll give them like a 30% shot to win this game just because literally anything is possible in the NFL at any time.
That's more optimistic than I was expecting from you. 30?
Okay. I mean, 30% is still a percentage. Like, what was the percentage that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to win that game after halftime last night? Like, it should have been
quarterbacking the Chargers. It was 100%.
Yeah, well, you know. Like we make jokes, but let's be real about something. For the Jacksonville Jaguars to do what they did, they were down 27-0 at the half. Justin Herbert was lighting them up, and all of a sudden things just go their way. So who knows? Maybe a miracle happens. There's always a chance for a miracle. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but something could happen because the old saying about any given Sunday still applies. Maybe Skylar Thompson does something. Holland Maria Grossman, 2.5%. That's probably a good number, too, because, again, I'm giving 30 just because I've learned that the NFL, nothing is certain. Nothing is for sure. For all we know, Josh Allen's elbow finally catches up to him and his arm falls off. So who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe we get some defensive turnovers. Maybe there's some bad snaps and Josh Allen can't jump on it and teleport over to the ball like he seems to do every single time. So we'll see what happens. Who knows? Anything could happen. But as far as that, you're asking me what I think is going to happen, it's not going to be pretty.
I'm looking at the props here, Michael. My favorite prop is they've got Thomas Morstead at 5 punts. I mean, he went games without punting this season. They got him at 5 punts. I'm going to play that under because McDaniel's not going to punt. Like to me, that he's not going to punt. Like this is the Mike McDaniel go crazy game. And if I'm to even give them 10% chance of winning, that's why. Because his instincts are going to go crazy even when he shouldn't. Like today, like he has nothing to lose. Like absolutely nothing. He got them to the playoffs. 2 is out. Teddy Bridgewater may just walk off the field at halftime because he doesn't really want to be there. Byron Jones quit on him. He doesn't have his #1 running back. Do we have a status on Armstead at this point? Yes,
Still
no.
questionable as far as we know. We
Oh, okay,
haven't
so he
seen
may not have his
report.
best left tackle. We don't best offensive line. We don't know if Chubb was questionable. I mean, Xavier Howard's had an awful season, in my opinion. So, I mean, Michael, like, what does Mike McDaniel do today?
Like you said, you have to go nuts. You can't. It doesn't matter if you lose this game by 7 or if you lose this game by 30. You see that when someone's down in their own side of the field and they instead of punting, or they punt instead of going for it on 4th and 1 or so forth. He's just got to let it rip because no one's expecting anything from the Dolphins today, nor should they be expecting anything from the Dolphins today. It's your first playoff trip as a head coach. It's the team's first playoff jaunt since Adam Gase. So really pull everything out of the bag. Go to the water boy and say, can't hold anything back. Just go nuts.
Eric, to that end, Simon Clancy on 3 yards per carry was talking about, trying to compete with Skylar Thompson. And, essentially he said, you can't run anything you run. Like, you can't. Like, the whole offense is predicated on, as he called it, 2 his superpowers, the anticipation, the ability to get the ball out quick and all that. That's not Skylar's strength. We've seen that. So what kind of game plan do you design for him today?
I think it's going to come down to the fact that, honestly, Buffalo is going to, because when you look at the game film from last week, guys were open in that intermediate, and there were shots to be taken that Skylar just didn't take. And I don't know how Mike McDaniel is going to get him to take those shots, but you've got to get him to drive the ball down the field because Buffalo is just going to be daring them to do it all game. I mean, the Dolphins ran for almost 190 last time in Buffalo. You think Buffalo's going to do anything but sell out against the run? I can't see that. And so I think, honestly, it's going to have to be drive the ball down the field or do whatever you can to get the ball in Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle's hands. They've got to attack that intermediate to deep part of the field in this one.
All right, so let's look at the other side of this, Lewis. Because, I mean, Josh Allen has been anointed, I think, in a lot of correctly, obviously for the progress that he's made the past few years. He's killed the Dolphins with his legs in the past. He's hurt them with his arm. The Dolphins are still shorthanded in the secondary, as we've discussed all season. What do you spy him today? Like, how do you handle him? Because we know that they're probably not going to get pressure with their front on its own, even though obviously Phillips has had a really good season. So what do you do there?
I mean, the game plan was pretty well laid out by everybody who's been actually watching, and the numbers speak for themselves, and I hope Josh Boyer reads them. You blitz Josh Allen, you lose. It's very simple. You don't blitz Josh Allen, you have a better shot at winning. So whether you put a spy on him and just have him stand there and send everybody else, like, it won't kill you if you have one guy standing in the middle of the field acting as a guy, making sure that Josh Allen doesn't take off and run, because you still have your front four doing their pass rush thing. I don't care if Josh Allen gets pressured or not, to be perfectly honest. Let him stand there. It's still how do I put it? It's still within the rhythm. He thrives in chaos. He loves to play backyard football. Bringing the blitz only makes it so that he's in his element. He doesn't like playing on timing. So the best thing that Miami can do, and if Josh Boyer wants to, and I tweeted this out, if Josh Boyer wants to have anything on his resume, he needs to make sure that he doesn't blitz Josh Allen today. He cannot do it because every time he does it, he loses. And I don't know why it seems like he's the only one in the whole world who can't see it. It's very, very frustrating to see him assume that, maybe this time it'll work. No, it never, ever works. They're over it. They've seen it enough times. And that's why they literally have they have game plan designed around this defense. Oh, you have the zero look. Make sure you have a little guy to dump it off to right here to get it over with. It's all been put in. The best thing he can do is just say, screw it. Run a vanilla defense. 4 guys brush the passer. 1 guy spy Josh Allen. Everybody else play back. That's the simplest thing.
Michael, isn't that McDaniel's job, though, to overrule his defensive coordinator on that stuff? Ultimately, it's his neck on the line. Boyer's neck is cut already. I mean, I don't mean to be graphic, but I mean, I can't see any way he comes back. So why wouldn't I mean, if you're McDaniel, just make the case like, look, this doesn't work because the wrong guy to do this against. Whatever our personnel is, we don't have the corners for it anymore either because X is not X, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of criticisms of McDaniel this year, but I do not understand why he has not overruled this guy on that.
Yeah, and that can be something that's a bit tough when you have someone who's just used to working on one side of the ball for as long as McDaniel has, and taking over that first year, you're still used to sticking to what you are an expert at and saying, okay, I'll leave the defensive side for the defensive side, and as he's just focusing on offense. But of course, you can't do that. You have to run a CEO type model, and so McDaniel should have been overruling him. He didn't, and I think once this season comes to an end, which whether it's today, which is when I think it ends, or whether it's next week, or so on and so forth, once you have some evaluations, you just have to understand that it didn't work. You don't have the personnel for what you're trying to run, and it's just banging your head into the wall time after time, expecting something different when we see the same results week after week and how that's working.
All right, I'm going to go through some of the comments here. Manny, if you do get an opportunity to put them up, I know he's having some Wi-Fi issues, so I'll try to read them as much as possible. This one comes in from Renegade. Do not spy with Duke Riley because it did not work last time. That's accurate. Jerome Baker, perhaps? Would that be better? I don't know. I mean,
Baker would be better because he's faster.
Yeah, maybe. Renegade 28, you have to get the ball in Hill and Waddle's hands, whether it be run, screens, or downfield. I mean, I think we're all in agreement on that. I actually, that's a good place to pivot here because I want to look at some of these props, and I just played while we were sitting here. I played the Morstead prop before they changed that one to a different number of punts because I wanted to make sure I got in on that one. But look at the receiving yards here for Hill and Waddle, 61.5 for Hill. 47.5 for Waddle. You're shaking your head, Lewis. I'll go to Eric first, though, on this. Would you go over on either?
Waddle.
Okay. But we know, though, that, they did target – Skyler did target Waddle a little more often last time, but we know that Waddle is typically tied to Tua. So you're comfortable with that?
Yeah, I go off of – let's be honest here. Buffalo doesn't have a corner as good as Sauce Gardner. And while that's more so of a problem for Tyreek Hill, it does benefit the wide receiver room just in general. I just think Skyler's got a little bit more of a connection with Waddle than with Tyreek.
All right, fair. You wouldn't go over on either, Lewis?
I wouldn't go over on either of them. I mean, I made the mistake of going over last time against the Jets, and guess what? They still didn't make it. So even with that low number against the Jets, I know that there are people saying, well, the Jets defense is better than the Bills defense. Okay, and I just don't think that Skylar Thompson is going to trust himself to actually do anything with the football right now. I feel like he's still nervous. I feel like he's still not set for it. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. But everything that I saw in that Jets game tells me that he's not going to be, no matter how much he's prepared, he just can't match up to the level of talent that is being faced around him. This is kind of like throwing Brandon Doughty out there and assuming that he's going to be able to keep up with one of the best quarterbacks in football. It's just not going to happen.
So, all right. So let me ask you this. I do want to get to Michael and some more of the props here on the Bills side. But before I do, there's a reasonable question because friends of mine who are Dolphin fans, but obviously, they're not following the team minute to minute like we are here. And they're asking me this question, and I don't really have an answer for it. Okay. The 49ers draft a guy with the last pick in the 7th round, and the dude, maybe he's along for the ride, but he may end up being riding to the Super Bowl. I mean, and the Dolphins pick a guy a few picks ahead, and we don't think a lot about those 7th round picks. We're just like, whatever. I mean, because 95% of them don't pan out. You don't end up using them. They get cut in training camp. They get put on the practice squad. They bounce around. But I mean, it is going to be a question. I mean, if Skyler's awful today, after we just saw what Purdy did, aren't people going to ask the question, like, did they miss on an evaluation there? I mean, Purdy has a relationship with Marino. I mean, I'm not saying they're best friends or anything, but I'm saying, like, does anybody put any blame there? Because I have friends of mine who are casual Dolphin fans who are, and I don't know what to tell them.
I mean, let's put it this way.
Go ahead, either of you guys, and then Michael as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, somebody.
Okay,
Michael.
not, that's not fair. That's not fair. 31 other teams failed in their evaluations then too.
Okay.
There were 6 other rounds that happened before then.
No, and that's always been the argument about Brady too.
I mean,
is that
Brock Purdy was literally the last person drafted in the whole draft, so
right?
he's literally Mr. Irrelevant. That's the whole joke. Is that?
But is this system or talent though? Because McDaniels, I mean, there is an apples to apples comparison because we are comparing. We're talking. I mean, the Dolphins coach came from that system. I mean, literally helped develop that system, right? So you plug Purdy in there and he's fine. It's because he's got McCaffrey and all. I mean, you do have Hill and Waddle. Like it's not like you don't have. I mean, you've had Mostert in some of these games with Skyler too. I'm trying to find something to tell them because I know that's going to come up today. Like if Skyler's awful, we're going to hear it.
Okay, so here's what Skylar Thompson needs to do. Okay, he needs to just close his eyes and heave it up there and pray for pass interference. Seriously, Tyreek Hill is a superstar in this league. He will get some calls. He will get some calls, not all the calls because he's a Dolphin, but he will get some calls because he's still Tyreek Hill. And the other thing he needs to do, which he did not do last week, is just say, "Screw it, I'm using my legs." Because that was something that he did a lot in college, and that was something that he needs to do in order to get the defense to get off his back a little bit.
Is that prop up? I'm going to check it. Hold on. I don't think they
for rushing yards. I doubt it.
No, they don't. They still have Jeff Wilson. PrizePicks still has Jeff Wilson in that 49ers uniform. But no, they do not have that. They've got the Singletary and Cook props. I'm with you. Michael, let me go to some of these other props here on PrizePicks. Use the code 5. We've got who somebody posted here that they're going in. Renegade says going over on receiving yards for Gesicki, which I think some are. I'm so scared of that one because of the way he's played this year, but I get it. So let's go through some of these. Rushing yards. Devin Singletary, 43.5. Michael.
I prefer Cook, honestly.
I don't think he's on there for rushing yards. Oh, yes, he is.
He is.
37.5.
He's very low, though.
Yeah.
I picked the under on Singletary just because it's the Dolphins' rushing defense is that good. So,
Michael, would you go over or under on 10.5 receiving yards for Singletary?
I'll probably go over on that. I'd stay away from it, but gun to my head, I'd go over on that.
Eric, Stephon Diggs, 77.5 receiving yards.
I hate to say it, I'm probably going over on 77.5 for Stephon Diggs. I don't trust the Dolphins secondary.
Gabriel Davis, Lewis, 48.5 receiving yards.
Honestly, I would go over on him more than I would Stephon Diggs, to be honest, because I feel like that's first of all, it's a big number. And I feel like Josh Allen's going to be able to throw the ball around a lot more. Like, I actually think that the tight end's going to get a lot more looks than Stephon Diggs will today.
I that is a consensus among our PrizePicks group is that Dawson Knox is a good play today. 32.5 receiving yards seems fairly safe. Would you go with that or the 3 receptions, Michael?
3 receptions, for
Lewis,
sure.
3 receptions. Michael?
Yeah, I'd agree
3
with that.
receptions. All right. Well, this has been a very dour, depressing show. So let's try to end this on a more positive note. Well, I don't know if that's where we're going here, but let's get to the picks. Use that code 5 at PrizePicks, FIVE, betteredge.com. Use code 5 RSN. All right. Each of us is going to do this. Let's just start before we go. Okay. Everybody's picking the Bills, correct? Do I even need to do this? Eric, not. Everybody not. Okay. Everybody's going to come up with a scenario in which the Dolphins win. All right? Because we're going to ignore that we all picked against the Bills. And then when the Dolphins win, we're going to use the clip from this, okay? From here forward. So the rest of the show did not matter. Okay, thanks to Maddie Chang for producing. Again, go to betteredge.com, use code 5RSN. PrizePicks, use the code 5FIVE. All right, let's go. Let's go around the table here. Eric, how will the Dolphins win today?
The Dolphins will win today 2 ways. Number 1, Tyreek Hill will be on every return opportunity and run back 2 touchdowns. And the red zone defense will show up.
By the way, Teron Armstead is active. That comes in from Bob Whitmer here in the comments. So that's a good start here as we go. All right, I'm going to preface this correctly so the clip can be used. Michael, how will the Dolphins win today?
They're effective running the ball. They control the clock, and they get some Josh Allen turnovers. A red zone interception would sure be nice. And maybe a break or two goes their way, and they can break a tackle from Tyreek or Jalen for a real long game. But control the clock, effectively run the ball, get Josh Allen to give them the football.
I'm glad you didn't follow with something negative after the butt. I was concerned about that because this is a positive clip. Lewis, how will the Dolphins win today?
Give me a minute.
No, that's not how this works. Come back. Ready? I'm going to start again. Remember, this is going to be used later. Like nothing else happened. Like, this is like the Colin Cowherd part of the program. Okay. This is where like all previous.
I'm not Colin Cowherd. I have integrity.
No, you don't. Right now, you don't. Okay, this is how this is working. This is the Colin Cowherd part of the program where we do not remember anything that happened previously, right? Whatever we said made no difference, right? Ready? Okay, we're going to go from here. Ready? Are you prepared? You got a minute or less, though, because we're closing, and I need to give my answer because I'm going to reclip mine 100 times until I make sure it's right. Ready? Lewis, how will the Miami Dolphins win today, get their first playoff victory since December 30th, 2000?
I believe Skylar Thompson is going to unleash whatever magic he had in the preseason. He's going to make things very simple for himself. He's going to use his legs. He's going to find open guys like Mike Gesicki, throw up some passes for them to bring down. I think the defense will be able to stop the run and force Josh Allen to use his arm a lot more than he has been lately. And I think that as a result of that, his injury is going to come back to bite him. He's going to make a bad throw. And somehow Kader Cole, who comes out to be the superhero of this game, makes some turnovers, and Miami will run the ball effectively enough to be able to score some touchdowns in a low-scoring game in Buffalo.
All right, who wants to ask me before we close?
Go ahead, Ethan. How will the Miami Dolphins win this game today?
209 yards from Lamar Smith. Jay Fiedler plays efficiently. 2.5 sacks from Jason Taylor. Zach Thomas.
You see? You can't do it with a straight. You can't do it with a straight face. You can't do it.
See ya.